Arcane has just been released and she is one of the best characters of all time, being able to be used as a main damage dealer and a supportive character that actually buffs your whole team by just landing really good debuffs and actually just buffing your teams in general. A character as useful as this feels out of place for me because she's just everywhere. She can be everywhere. Now, if you're unaware, Arcane is pretty much a character that you can slot into any arts related team. The elements of the arts related team does not even matter because she can just copy and paste whatever element is on the enemy, whatever infliction of element and you can just copy paste one extra because of Arcane. It actually kind of reminds me of Fluorite, except Fluorite has no supportive capabilities that's able to like increase your damage output for the whole team, and Arcane is pretty much the person that can do that. Well, welcome to an all teams showcase for Arcane, where I rate every single team and what are they good at, what are they bad at. If you're wondering about how you want to play Arcane, if you're wondering about what teams you might want to try, do check out this video. Use the timestamps for your convenience. Just real quick before we start, if you're looking to be spending money on the game anyways, I've got a pretty good deal for you. Introducing Loot Bar, which is a website I use often for literally just cheaper top-ups for games like Arknights and Endfield. The website's simple. It offers cheaper pricing for the same bundles in the game. You can check how much you're saving right beside the price tag. You actually could save a lot, up to 26% in total if you claim new user coupons using my link in the description. So it's just a deal that you don't want to miss out. Do not worry as well because it's not too big of a hassle to set up. Simply click my link in the description, register an account if you don't have it yet, browse and choose any bundle including even some custom ones that Loot Bar provides, complete the payment, choose self top up, log into your account. Now this is secured since it is set up as a one-time cloud device, so you don't gotta worry about that. You'll then see your account in-game on the browser, go to the store and click on the bundle you purchased. You'll be able to redeem it right away and voila, you'll have your resources. Then simply log out, your data will be automatically cleared. Of course, you may have some doubts, but I do find Loot Bar 100% trustworthy, given I myself used it for the past year with no issues. It has a high score in Trustpilot too, with thousands of good reviews from customers. Loot Bar is a pretty recognized name these days, and they even have official CD key sales among other services provided for a long time now. You can actually get up to 50% off for popular Steam games like Arc Raiders, so I genuinely don't think you gotta worry about Loot Bar. They've been around the block. If you're topping out anyway, why not give it a try? Use my link in the description, and yeah, you'll support me directly too. I appreciate that, and let's get back into the video. Now to start, let's just go through some general things that we have to talk about in terms of Arcane. You see, Arcane can be played as a main DPS and a support Arcane. I've already made a guide, you can see how that works. I'll be showing you the teams for main DPS Arcane first, but understand this. First of all the stats aren't actually min-max at all. Some characters does not have build at all. Some characters does not even have their talent upgraded. Unfortunately, that was the case for this server that I have. But in any case though, the main thing is to just take a look at how they perform generally, how they play, and how they handle situations. There are definitely ways to play all these teams better. And also, I know I called the video the all teams showcase, but it's quite practically impossible to show every single team for Arcane because there's simply too many. For instance, a main DPS Arcane pretty much just only needs one other arts inflictor, and then you actually could just have the whole engine to go just like that. You can combine someone like Perlica with Xaihi, you can combine Arknights in there, you can have Tangtang in there. It's just limitless. Because the general consensus for Arcane is that as long as you're using her with arts character, she actually could just work out. Regardless though, let's just jump into main DPS Arcane and see what are the teams that I think suits best for her and what are the team that I think might actually be underrated. The team that I think works best for main DPS Arcane will be Arcane, Tangtang, Xaihi, and Gilberta. The idea with main DPS Arcane is usually simple. For example, with this team, you're just trying to have Tangtang and Xaihi land 2 cryo inflictions, which triggers Arcane's combo. Once you trigger Arcane's combo and have the enemy be imprisoned, Arcane will then use her skill. And because she's in the main DPS mode, the skill will do a lot of damage. All you have to do is literally repeat that until everyone has their energy, and then you can have everyone use their ultimate, Xaihi buffing Arcane and Tangtang, Arcane debuffing the enemy as well for its susceptibility for Tangtang to do even more damage. Tangtang has her skill with the debuffs as well to allow you to do even more damage. And once Arcane's second ult is about to be up, you can go with Gilberta's ultimate, and Arcane would nuke the boss for a lot of damage. It's such a simple team that you can repeatedly play without too much of brain usage. So pretty much as long as you can evade the enemy well and then make sure Tangtang and Xaihi gets in that rhythm of like landing 2 cryo inflictions all the time, Arcane to top off with combo and skill, you'll have it. If for whatever reason Gilberta is missing energy, you could also use Gilberta's skill in order to land 1 nature infliction, or during her ultimate where she does land 1 nature infliction, you can actually trigger Arcane's combo that way. You'll imprison the enemy and then you get the skill off, doing a bunch of damage. This team's one of the strongest team in the game right now. It deals a lot of nature damage with Arcane. It deals pretty good cryo damage all around as well with Tangtang and Xaihi. Xaihi, and Gilberta just boosts the whole team's arts damage even further. I'll rank this team 5 out of 5 for performance, 2 out of 5 for difficulty, and 5 out of 5 for survivability, because Gilberta and Xaihi can both heal actually. A really strong team, and it's the style of team that you can tackle any endgame mode in my opinion. Now as I said though, there's an infinite array of variety for Arcane main DPS, or honestly even for support Arcane. You can swap out Tangtang for Perlica, you can swap out Gilberta for Ardelia if you want to. You can swap out Xaihi for Ardelia for fun, and just if Tangtang use 2 inflictions, or just rely on Gilberta I guess. Of course, some ways are better than the others. Some has pros and cons. In my opinion though, what I've showed is pretty solid. But I will show you another team that I find interesting, which would be a main DPS Arcane, Avywenna, Perlica, and Gilberta. This is kind of just like a proof of concept of how Arcane can just work with anyone, as long as they're arts related, right? Even like a sub DPS Avywenna with Perlica, I mean, on paper, it should just work. They are both arts characters, so yes, you're not really utilizing Arcane's, say, cryo buff that much compared to helping out Tangtang as well in that team previously, but Arcane still has the nature susceptibility, which helps herself. Avywenna and Perlica are both still able to get you electric infliction, and 2 of those will allow Arcane to trigger her combo, getting her skill off. Avywenna's damage with Gilberta's ult as well is pretty good at times, so you actually would have a pretty solid team anyway. Just make sure Avywenna and Perlica gets you 2 inflictions, or if you want to save Avywenna's Thunder Lances, just use Perlica's skill twice, and you get your Arcane combo into skill. As long as you can make sure that happens, you'll get your ult eventually. Rinse and repeat the same idea of Gilberta helping out everybody, Arcane helping out everybody, then you'll see your Arcane duking some good damage. Of course, this team is not as good as the last one though. It's just a proof of concept. You can use Arcane main DPS with any arts inflictor really, as long as you can make sure you have 2 inflictions on, which, like it or not, you are able to do it as long as you don't troll. If you're just reacting every single infliction with 2 different elements, then of course nothing's gonna happen with Arcane, right? Do check out the guide if you want to see generally how she can be played. And that'll be all for main DPS Arcane. I have to stress this again, you can use any support character, so I can't really show them all. If I do, it'll be a 50-minute video. Okay, Crit could work, Camille could work, the list goes on, right? I'm sure you understand by now. But let's just move on to the support Arcane build. And as a support Arcane, she also can be used in pretty much any arts related teams, because in supportive mode, the big difference between this and the main DPS mode is that support Arcane is able to copy paste any element's infliction with her combo skill and her ultimate, which is very consistent. A trigger for her combo is also much easier now with support Arcane, and support Arcane is actually able to get you even more susceptibility. The susceptibilities that she is able to get is cryo and nature, which makes cryo or nature teams her go-to. Now notice how there's no nature teams outside of Arcane main DPS really in this entire game. So in the future, there's going to be more nature main damage dealers. They are already hinting at this for sure by introducing Arcane. It just doesn't exist yet though. But since it doesn't exist yet, it means cryo characters, cryo main damage dealers, will be massively benefited from Arcane, which is why I'll have the first showcase be Yvonne, Tangtang, Arcane, and Gilberta. This team is, in my opinion, one of the best cryo teams, if not the best right now. Tangtang's own damage output is nothing to scoff at anyway, so Arcane be able to help out Tangtang. Gilberta with the susceptibilities to also help arts damage as well. All of it amplifies every single character in this game. Yvonne gets benefited, Tangtang, Arcane, all of them are helped out. Now in this showcase, I'll make it clear though, the builds are incredibly nerfed. I think Tangtang in this case has no gear. Yvonne has like a level 1 weapon, and it still worked pretty well. The idea with this is simple. You just start with Tangtang's infliction in order to trigger Arcane's combo as well, which copies the infliction, allowing you to have 2 stacks. And since you have 2 stacks, you can use Yvonne's skill to consume the cryo inflictions right into her final strike, which gets you massive energy for Yvonne. Yvonne's lifeline is to make sure she can consume nature or cryo inflictions consistently to convert it into massive energy, and this team does exactly that. Tangtang and Arcane gives you 2 very consistent cryo inflictions all the time. In fact, Arcane allows you to have like a different flavor if you want. If Yvonne's bored of consuming the same cryo infliction, you can use Gilberta's skill instead to get nature infliction, and Arcane would copy that nature infliction right into another one. Yvonne can then consume that again and then just get a lot of energy. Once Yvonne has her ultimate, you can even attempt to have Tangtang land her infliction with her skill while landing all the debuffs as well, and then have Gilberta use her ultimate, which will actually react with the cryo infliction to get you corrosion. And with corrosion, you actually reduces the enemy's resistance to elements, so you just do more damage again. It allows Yvonne to do a bunch of damage if you time everything right, and it's honestly one of the best teams on paper in my opinion. Now, how does the number prove itself though? I'm not sure yet, because I would say it's unrealistic to say, oh, this team's the strongest, because it's really situation dependent. In stages where Yvonne's just good, of course this team's just gonna wreck shop, but in situations where it's not as good, Yvonne might not be as good as someone else, right? But I will say this team's very balanced though. Gilberta and Arcane in support mode both have gathering abilities, which actually tackles Yvonne's Yvonne's weakness against AoE situations a lot too. It's one of the most solid teams right now. To rate it, I give it a 5 out of 5 for performance easily, 3 out of 5 for difficulty. You do have to time things, so if you want it perfect, 3 out of 5 for survivability. While Gilberta can somewhat heal, Yvonne might have some issues, especially with her ultimate needing her to stand. So if you time it well though, you can just make sure your whole ult happens while the boss isn't attacking you or is broken, right? With Yvonne out the way, let's just check out the rest of the Art's main DPS teams that can use support Arcane, which we'll see Laevatain first. The team will involve Laevatain, Akikuri, Arcane, and Ardelia. Of course, you can swap Akikuri for Camille, or you can swap Ardelia for anything that could help with Laevatain. I cannot possibly show every single conceivable team out there. There's just too many characters, but I'll show you a different style of teams, right? And Laevatain Heat team, that's a style of team. Laevatain has always been the one that's pretty good at AoE situations. So when you add Arcane in a team like this, yes, Arcane is not able to provide heat susceptibility, so it's a bit of a wastage there, and this team doesn't make as much sense, but it works out anyway because you could just have Akikuri land heat infliction, Arcane would copy heat infliction, Laevatain would prefer to have heat infliction be absorbed, the more the better. So just because of that, it's a solid idea. You can actually just use this. You'll be pretty much replacing Wolfguard, and usually Wolfguard is just the guy that lands heat infliction anyway on the team. Arcane can fill in that slot while still being able to do good damage on her own. And with a supportive build with Arcane, you can actually buff your team with, say, your gear sets and whatnot, though they're not exactly overpowered broken or something, right? But at least it helps your team. And while Laevatain, as usual, when she pops off, she's going to pop off, especially in AoE situations. Is she just becoming the best character ever though? Absolutely not, right? I won't really be ranking the teams anymore because first of all, I would like to save some effort for the editor, and second of all, it's not really even about Arcane anymore. It's more about just the main damage dealer, right? So sometimes when the performance is good, it might just be the damage dealer or like the team archetype being just good, because Arcane here is, you can swap her out for anyone else. She's not needed here, but if you really want it, well, I'll still mention this team's good, right? Is it the strongest ever? No, but it's good. Now to move on from Laevatain, let's take a look at the next Arts damage dealer. We have Zhuang, Fangyi, Perlica, Arclight, and Arcane. Again, it will be a supportive Arcane, and in this team, Arcane is able to copy Electric Infliction, as you would think, right? Every time Perlica lands one, you can have Arcane copy it, you get the second stack. And once you do, that would be a higher level of electrification that Zhuang Fangyi can convert, and that'll be easier combos into battle skill into all the Thunder Lances for Zhuang Fangyi triggered. Again though, Arcane provides cryo and nature susceptibility, so not gonna be able to help out Zhuang Fangyi that much in terms of susceptibility, but it still works out, which is why I'm not gonna be ranking them too much, because this is kind of just like an option that you could go for. It's still strong though, it still makes sense, but you will be kind of using Arcane mostly for the copying of inflictions for this one and some sort of buffs that still helps out. It is not weak at all, it is actually really strong, but then Zhuang Fangyi would be strong with, well, anything under the sun anyway. As long as the core machine of Fangyi, Perlica, and Arknights around, Arcane is just that general character that just works anyway, albeit not perfectly. Is this team strong? Hell yes. To move on from this Arts damage dealer, let's take a look at some other ones. We've got Rossi now, and with a Rossi team, you'll be looking at Rossi, Camille, Arcane, and Gilberta. This team is designed to have Rossi be a pure heat character. We're pretty much ignoring the physical part of her kit, because if you bring in the physical part of her kit, you won't have an option for Arcane to be put in the team, I would say. I guess you do if you force having Arcane instead of, say, Camille in a Rossi mixed damage team, because with a mixed damage team, you want Rossi, you want Mifu, you want Pogranishnik. Those are already like guarantees if you want to like tackle the highest peaks, right? You want to maximize the physical part of the damage, and then usually the rest is Camille, which already helps that team really well. So I don't know about forcing Arcane there. Now for a pure heat team though with Rossi, Arcane makes somewhat of a sense. It's not as good as like the perfect heat team for Rossi though, but the logic is still similar. You'll be able to copy some inflictions, which if you're not aware, Rossi does actually do more damage if she consumes more infliction. But overall, Arcane in this team isn't exactly too good or makes too much of a sense. Like, she's there, she could do her job. It just doesn't make as much sense though, but again, it works anyway if you want to use it. I will say Arcane's imprisonment is actually really strong to just have the boss be in slow motion. It actually lifts a lot of pressure off of you. It's one of the more underrated parts about her kit that you might be just brushing off. It's just so good. Like, the enemy's moving so slow, you can evade very well. I'll rate this team 4 out of 5 for performance, 3 out of 5 for difficulty, 3 out of 5 for survivability. And next off, we'll have Rite as the team with Tangtang, Xaihi, and Arcane. This one's kind of interesting because with this specific team, first of all, there's so many other possibilities for a Rite team. You don't have to use this, but this team in particular is designed to just have Tangtang, Xaihi, and Arcane. All of them will be able to either land or copy cryo inflictions, enough to have Rite consistently and continuously land her combo with 4 cryo inflictions consumed for the maximum amount of damage. And in this case, Arcane actually allows cryo susceptibility as well, so Last Rite will fully benefit from this. It's actually one of the best teams on paper where you're maximizing everything. So I do rate this 5 out of 5 for performance, 3 out of 5 for difficulty, 3 out of 5 for survivability. Last but not least, I've got for you kind of like a proof of concept again. We're gonna have Avywenna. This time though, Avywenna is played as a main DPS, which is actually a very valid style of play. It's one of the strongest teams actually. It's not meta defining, but it's strong. We've got Avywenna, Perlica, Arcane, and Gilberta. Nothing much to say about this one. You're just using Arcane to get more Electro Infliction in, which I'll be honest, doesn't really even matter that much. Like yes, Arcane will still be the buff in terms of damage output to some extent. It's especially the case if you're able to get Corrosion to happen. Landing Corrosion means the enemy's resistance is lowered, which Avywenna's insane burst damage, all of them amplified by those effects, is actually pretty crazy. You do have to time things though, and it's not the easiest team to do. But to rate this, it's actually a 5 out of 5 for performance, 4 out of 5 for difficulty. You do have a lot of timing to do, and it's not exactly the easiest team, I would say. 3 out of 5 for survivability. And that will be all of the logical teams that I can think of at least. I don't think I've missed anyone. But as I said though, there's so many different teams that I probably have missed some niche ones. In any case, I think Arcane is easily a must pull for anybody. It's just a character that can act as a bridge for so many teams, or a character that can push the ceiling for certain teams. And it's not guaranteed the future characters will use Arcane, because how are you gonna leave like the idea of doing arts damage, right? I think Arcane will always be around, at least for a long time. Yep, that'll be all for today. If you guys enjoyed this one, and take care.